In a courtroom deep in Atlanta, Georgia, a respected black schoolteacher, Malcolm Hayes, is wrongfully accused of stealing confidential documents from the school's wealthy donor. Alongside him sits his teenage daughter, Renee, watching the system she was taught to believe in crumble before her eyes. What unfolds is not just a trial. It's a battle between truth and prejudice, between a father's integrity and a prosecutor's ambition. When the truth threatens to surface, alliances break, witnesses falter, and the meaning of justice itself is put on trial. Welcome to Black and Slain Stories, where we uncover powerful, untold tales of resilience, courage, and justice from the black experience across the world. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the family. Comment below and let us know where you're watching from. And if you believe that stories like these deserve a voice, hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and help us bring light to the stories they tried to bury. Now, let's begin tonight's story, a courtroom drama where truth fights to breathe under the heavy weight of racism and power. After a break-in at his school's administration office, Malcolm Hayes, a beloved history teacher, is accused of stealing sensitive documents belonging to the school's wealthy white benefactor. The prosecutor, Aaron Crowley, a rising political figure with his eye on the next election, seizes the case to boost his career. But as evidence begins to crumble and one brave voice refuses to stay silent, the courtroom becomes a battlefield for dignity, truth, and the soul of justice itself. The Fulton County Courthouse is suffocatingly still. The air carries a tension that words can't ease. Every seat in the gallery is filled. Lawyers, reporters, and curious onlookers crowd the benches. Malcolm Hayes sits at the defense table, his posture rigid but his eyes calm. His daughter, Renee, 16, sits behind him clutching a worn photograph of her late mother. Across the courtroom, Aaron Crowley, the state prosecutor, checks his watch, smirking. His blue tie gleams under the fluorescent light, a small reminder that he's in control. Case number 4219, the state of Georgia versus Malcolm Hayes. The clerk announces, Judge Evelyn Carter, her hair a perfect silver bun, peers down over her glasses. Mr. Hayes, you are charged with theft of confidential school documents, trespassing, and obstruction of justice. How do you plead? Malcolm's voice is soft but unwavering. Not guilty, Your Honor. Crowley lets out a quiet laugh, just loud enough for the jury to hear. The implication is clear. How dare this man claim innocence? The judge nods. Very well. Let's proceed. The gavel falls, and the quiet hum of injustice begins. Aaron Crowley strides before the jury like an actor confident in his lines. Ladies and gentlemen, he begins, this is not a complex case. A man entrusted with young minds used that trust to steal. Mr. Hayes didn't just take property. He betrayed his community. He turns toward the jury, his tone dripping with practiced charm. The evidence is undeniable. The stolen flash drive was found in his vehicle. His fingerprints were on the donor's door, and the motive is plain. Financial desperation. Gasps echo softly from the gallery. Crowley glances at Malcolm, smirking. This was not an act of necessity. It was an act of greed. Malcolm's lawyer, Aisha Daniels, shifts in her seat but holds her tongue. She knows better than to interrupt Crowley's performance this early. He calls his first witness, Paul Reeves, the school's janitor. Reeves takes the stand, looking uneasy. Crowley's voice turns silk smooth. Mr. Reeves, tell the court what you saw that night. Reeves clears his throat. I saw Mr. Hayes leave the donor's office around midnight. He looked nervous, like he didn't want to be seen. Crowley nods, satisfied. And did you later learn the office had been broken into? Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. No further questions. The jury scribbles notes. Crowley sits, smirking again. Then Aisha stands for cross-examination. Mr. Reeves, she begins gently. You said you saw Mr. Hayes at midnight? Yes, ma'am. Were you scheduled to work that night? He hesitates. No, but I was doing extra cleaning. Aisha raises an eyebrow. And did anyone authorize that overtime? I don't recall. Interesting, she says softly, because according to the school's payroll logs, she holds up a document. You clocked out at 6:07 p.m. Murmurs ripple through the courtroom. Crowley objects, irrelevant. Judge Carter shakes her head. Overruled. Continue, Ms. Daniels. Aisha steps closer. Mr. Reeves, did anyone from the prosecution's office contact you before you testified today? Reeves fumbles. Why, yes. Aisha nods slowly. Was it Mr. Crowley? Reeves looks down. Yes. The courtroom gasps. Aisha smiles faintly. No further questions. Crowley's jaw tightens. During recess, reporters swarm the hallway. Flashbulbs burst like tiny explosions. Renee, clutching her school backpack, is cornered by microphones. Miss Hayes, do you believe your father is innocent? Renee's eyes burn. My father doesn't steal. He helps people. He stays late to tutor kids, buys supplies with his own money. He's not a criminal. A reporter presses. Then why do you think he was accused? Renee's voice trembles but doesn't break. Because sometimes being black and honest still makes you a target. Her words hang heavy. Cameras flash. That 15-second clip goes viral before court resumes. When they return, Aisha Daniels stands, holding a new piece of evidence, a USB drive retrieved by an anonymous tip. Your Honor, she says, we've uncovered security footage the prosecution failed to disclose. This footage was deleted from the school system and recovered by an IT specialist. Judge Carter nods. Proceed. Aisha plugs in the drive. The courtroom falls silent as the screen flickers to life. A tall white man in a blazer enters the donor's office at 11:43 p.m. Not Malcolm Hayes. Gasps fill the room. Aaron Crowley stands abruptly. Objection. That footage could be fabricated. Overruled. Judge Carter snaps. Renee grabs her father's hand, whispering, They see it now, Dad. They see it. This court is adjourned until tomorrow. Closing arguments will begin at 10 a.m. sharp. The judge declares. Malcolm exhales, but uncertainty shadows his relief. Justice, he knows, doesn't come easy to men like him. The next morning, the courthouse buzzes louder than before. News outlets line the marble steps outside, microphones in hand. Overnight, social media has exploded with hashtags like #JusticeForHayes and #SystemOnTrial. Inside, Malcolm Hayes sits at the defense table in the same gray suit, eyes weary but alert. Renee is beside him, scrolling through her phone. Her speech from the previous day has been shared thousands of times. Aisha Daniels, calm but calculated, flips through her notes. We made noise, but don't get too comfortable, she whispers to Malcolm. Crowley's not the kind of man who loses gracefully. Malcolm nods. I've dealt with men like him all my life. They don't fight fair, they fight loud. Across the aisle, Aaron Crowley walks in, his smile razor thin. He places his briefcase on the table with deliberate calm, leans toward his assistant, and whispers, Today, I bury them. The camera pans across the courtroom. Tension hums like static before a storm. As the session begins, Judge Carter adjusts her glasses. Mr. Crowley, the defense has presented new footage. You may cross-examine. Crowley rises slowly, his voice deceptively polite. Your Honor, I'd like to call attention to the defense's so-called evidence. He turns toward the jury. It's interesting, isn't it, how this miraculous video surfaced at the perfect time, almost as if someone wanted to mislead you. Aisha interjects, Objection, speculation. Overruled, the judge replies. Crowley walks to the center of the room, his eyes locked on Malcolm. Mr. Hayes, would you please stand? Malcolm rises, his voice steady. Yes. Crowley paces around him like a wolf, sizing up its prey. You claim you didn't enter the donor's office that night. I didn't. But you were in the building. I stayed late to grade papers. Alone? Yes. And you expect this court to believe that while everyone else had gone home, you, a single father, stayed in a locked school building grading papers? Malcolm's eyes narrow slightly. I've done it many times before. Crowley smirks. Of course you have. He turns to the jury, voice dropping an octave. Sometimes people with financial strain stay behind to take more than grades home, don't they? A quiet murmur ripples through the gallery. That thin veil of coded racism everyone recognizes but no one dares name. Aisha slams her hand on the table. Objection. Racist insinuation. Judge Carter hesitates, her jaw tightening. Sustained. Mr. Crowley, watch your phrasing. Crowley bows slightly, feigning apology. My apologies, Your Honor. I simply meant to suggest opportunity. Malcolm sits down, jaw clenched. Renee stares at Crowley with disgust. During a brief recess, Renee leaves the courtroom to breathe. The courthouse hallway feels colder than yesterday. Marble floors echo every step like a heartbeat. She sits on a bench, scrolling through her messages. Stay strong. You're making history. But beneath the encouragement, there's hate, too. Your father's guilty. You people always play the victim. Her hands tremble. She looks up as Aisha joins her. Don't read the comments, Renee. I don't get it. We showed him the truth, and he still twists it. Aisha sighs, because it's not about truth to him. It's about control. Renee leans forward, whispering, Then we'll take it back. Her voice is quiet, but it carries more conviction than anything spoken in that courtroom. When court resumes, Aisha Daniels requests a new witness, Detective Jonah Price, the officer who handled the evidence. Crowley's face flickers, the first crack in his composure. Detective Price, Aisha begins. Is it true that you were the one who recovered the flash drive from Mr. Hayes' vehicle? Yes, ma'am. And who ordered that search? Mr. Crowley's office. Crowley interjects. Standard procedure, Your Honor. Aisha nods calmly. Of course. And where was the flash drive found? In the glove compartment. Aisha raises an eyebrow. Was the car locked? Yes. Was there any sign of forced entry? No, ma'am. So how did you open the car? We used a master key from the impound lot. The courtroom stirs. Aisha presses further. Detective, are you aware that according to the impound log, Mr. Hayes' car wasn't brought in until 2 days after his arrest? The detective blinks. That can't be. Aisha holds up the document. It can, and it is. Crowley stands abruptly. Objection. The defense is implying evidence tampering without proof. Judge Carter bangs a gavel. Order. But the damage is done. The jurors exchange uneasy looks. Malcolm turns slowly toward Crowley. For the first time, he allows a small, grim smile. You planted it, he says softly, almost to himself. Crowley glares. Careful what you imply, Mr. Hayes. No need to imply, Malcolm replies. Everyone heard it. The judge calls for adjournment, but the courtroom hums with whispers of corruption and deceit. As the gavel falls, the camera pans over Renee. Tears in her eyes, but fire in her heart. Outside, the crowd has grown. Protest signs wave in the distance. Justice for Hayes. Truth has no color. Inside, Crowley gathers his papers, avoiding everyone's eyes. His mask of confidence has cracked. Aisha exhales, closing her binder. She looks at Malcolm. We just bought ourselves a fighting chance. Malcolm nods. Now let's make it count. The morning begins under heavy rain. Reporters' umbrellas, the courthouse steps like dark flowers. Protesters chant louder now, their signs flashing camera lights. Justice for Hayes? Truth is black and white. Inside, the judge's bench gleams under harsh lighting. Malcolm Hayes sits silently beside Aisha Daniels, hands folded, eyes focused. He looks neither angry nor afraid, only determined. Renee sits behind him, her notebook open, her pen tapping nervously. She's rehearsing what she knows will soon come, her own testimony. Prosecutor Aaron Crowley enters, more calculated than ever. He knows the case is slipping, and desperation is the most dangerous fuel. He leans toward his assistant and whispers, If we can't bury him with evidence, we'll bury him with doubt. The gavel cracks. Judge Carter speaks. Court is in session. Crowley wastes no time. He calls the school's donor, Richard Eldridge, to the stand, an older white man with silver hair and an expensive suit. Mr. Eldridge, Crowley begins, how would you describe your relationship with the defendant? Eldridge's voice drips with polished disdain. He was a fine teacher, until greed got the best of him. Aisha rises. Objection, speculative and inflammatory. Sustained. The judge replies, but the poison is already spread. Crowley paces in front of the jury. Mr. Eldridge, did you have any reason to suspect Mr. Hayes before the theft? Yes. He asked questions about the school's finances, about donations. He was nosy. Crowley smirks. So he had motive. Malcolm clenches his fists. Aisha whispers, don't react. Let him hang himself with his own rope. Crowley turns toward the jury, his voice soft but venomous. Sometimes people hide behind integrity when what they really want is access. The racial undertone is obvious. The gallery murmurs in disgust. When it's her turn, Aisha rises slowly. Her calm presence contrasts sharply with Crowley's theatrics. Mr. Eldridge, she begins, how much money did you donate to the school last year? Roughly $2 million. And how much of that did you write off on taxes? He frowns. That's irrelevant. On the contrary, she replies smoothly, it tells us whether this theft hurt you financially or just bruised your ego. The courtroom stirs. Eldridge glares. Aisha flips a document. Are you aware your office cameras were disabled the night of the alleged theft? I was not. Interesting. Because IT reports show your personal code was used to access the system at 11:39 p.m. A ripple of shock moves through the jury. Crowley jumps up. Objection. Overruled, says Judge Carter. Answer the question. Eldridge hesitates. I don't remember. No further questions. Aisha says, her tone cold as steel. The room quiets. Aisha stands. The defense calls Renee Hayes to the stand. Malcolm's heart pounds as his daughter walks to the witness box. She raises her right hand. Her voice trembles only slightly. I do. Aisha's tone softens. Renee, how old are you? 16. And what does your father do? He teaches history. He teaches people to know where they came from, so they don't get lost. A gentle murmur spreads through the audience. Where were you on the night of March 4th? At home. Dad called me around 9 p.m. to say he was staying late grading papers. He always stays late on Thursdays. Aisha nods. Has your father ever taken anything that didn't belong to him? Renee looks at the jury. He doesn't even take extra napkins from restaurants. Crowley rises for cross-examination. His eyes narrow. Miss Hayes, you love your father, don't you? Yes. So you do anything to protect him? I'd tell the truth. Crowley smirks. And that truth is that your father was desperate. He needed money after your mother died, didn't he? Renee straightens. We lost Mom, not our values. The gallery breaks into applause until the judge bangs her gavel. Order. Crowley presses harder. Your father taught you to be loyal, even when he's wrong. Renee's eyes glisten, but she stands firm. No, sir. He taught me to be brave when everyone else is lying. For a moment, even Crowley can't speak. Just as Aisha prepares to rest her case, Detective Jonah Price bursts into the courtroom with a manila folder. Your Honor, new evidence has surfaced. The judge frowns. Explain yourself. He hands a folder to Aisha. Inside are financial records showing that Richard Eldridge transferred $30,000 into an offshore account under the alias A. Crowell. Crowley's face goes white. Aisha lifts the page. Your Honor, A. Crowell, short for Aaron Crowley. These payments coincide with the day Mr. Hayes was arrested. Gasps fill the room. Crowley shouts, forgery, it's a setup. Judge Carter slams her gavel. Enough. We will recess for verification. Renee clutches her father's arm. They know, Dad. They finally know. An hour later, the court reconvenes. The forensic accountant confirms the record's authenticity. The room buzzes like electricity. Judge Carter turns to Crowley. Mr. Crowley, do you wish to respond? He stares at the table, sweating. I have nothing further. Malcolm rises slowly. Then maybe I do. The courtroom hushes as he addresses the judge directly. Your Honor, I've spent my life teaching children that the system works if you believe in it. Today, my daughter reminded me that sometimes you have to break the silence to make it work. I just want my name back and my dignity. Judge Carter's eyes soften. She turns to the jury. You've heard enough. This court will recess for deliberation. Minutes feel like hours. Then the foreman stands. We, the jury, find defendant Malcolm Hayes not guilty on all charges. The courtroom erupts, cheers, tears, disbelief. Renee throws her arms around her father. Judge Carter's gavel strikes once more. Mr. Crowley, this court will refer your conduct to the state bar for investigation. As Malcolm and Renee step outside, the rain has stopped. The crowd outside chants their names. Reporters shout questions, but Malcolm just raises his hand in quiet gratitude. Aisha smiles. You didn't just win your case. You made history. Malcolm looks at Renee. No, she did. Renee's eyes shine. No, Dad, we did it together. Camera pans upward over the courthouse as sunlight breaks through clouds, a symbol of truth finally piercing through decades of darkness. Crowds gather outside the courthouse. Reporters shout over each other. News vans fill the block. The Hayes verdict trends nationwide. Inside his modest home, Malcolm Hayes stands at the window, still wearing yesterday's wrinkled suit. His phone vibrates nonstop, voicemails from journalists, civil rights groups, and former students. Renee sits at the kitchen table with a bowl of untouched cereal. Dad, they're saying you're a hero. Malcolm gives a small, tired smile. I'm no hero, baby. I'm just a man who didn't bow. Aisha Daniels enters with coffee and an exhausted grin. The NAACP called. They want you to speak at their youth summit next week. Malcolm chuckles softly. Yesterday I was a criminal. Today I'm a symbol. Funny how quick the world changes when the cameras roll. Aisha sits opposite him. The world didn't change, Malcolm. You did. You force him to look. Renee looks between them. So what happens now? Aisha answers quietly. Now we make sure this isn't just a headline that fades by Monday. Montage, television studios, social media feeds, radio talk shows. Commentators argue. Was this justice or just damage control? Would the verdict have been the same without viral footage? At a CNN-style roundtable, a host asks, Mr. Hayes, how does it feel to be free? Malcolm answers steadily, freedom shouldn't feel rare. The quote spreads instantly. #freedom shouldn't feel rare trends worldwide. Meanwhile, Aaron Crowley hides from the cameras. A leaked email shows he pressured witnesses to stay on narrative. The Bar Association opens disciplinary hearings. Cut to Renee, scrolling through her feed. She sees both love and hate. Your father gave us hope. You people always play the victim. She sighs. Aisha notices. Don't read the poison, Renee. For every hater, there's someone who needed your voice. Renee looks up. Then maybe I should keep talking. Aisha smiles. You just found your purpose. Setting, a packed church hall on Atlanta's west side. The community gathers for a town hall meeting broadcast live online. A banner behind the podium reads, Justice Beyond the Verdict. Aisha steps to the microphone. This case wasn't just about one man. It was about every voice silenced by fear. And fear ends where truth begins. Applause roars. She gestures to Renee, who walks on stage nervously. The crowd quiets. My dad taught me that history repeats itself until somebody interrupts it. So let's interrupt it together. Phones rise like stars, recording her. In the audience, Malcolm wipes a tear. The camera pans across faces. Young, old, black, white, listening, learning. Later, outside the church, Malcolm and Renee stand by their car. A little boy runs up, holding a crumpled notebook. Mr. Hayes, can you sign this? I want to be a teacher like you. Malcolm kneels, signs it, and smiles. Then promise me you'll teach the truth, not just the safe parts. Back in the courthouse weeks later, Crowley faces the state bar panel. Malcolm attends quietly, not out of revenge but closure. Crowley's voice is small now. I forgot what justice was supposed to look like. Malcolm simply replies, Then remember next time someone walks into your courtroom who looks like me. The panel votes, license suspended. Outside, Aisha says it's done. Malcolm shakes his head. It's starting. Montage, news report to policy changes in airlines, courts, and schools. Students marching with signs. Renee speaking at colleges. Sometimes justice isn't a verdict, it's a seed. And once it's planted, no system can uproot it. In a quiet moment, Renee asks her father, "Do you forgive them?" Malcolm thinks long. "I don't forget what they did, but I forgive myself for ever thinking I wasn't enough to fight them." They sit on the porch, watching sunset. Aisha joins them with 3 cups of lemonade. "To truth," she says. Malcolm and Renee echo, "To truth." Malcolm Hayes walked into a courtroom alone and walked out with a nation behind him. But the fight for justice isn't his alone. It belongs to every one of us. Because the moment we stay silent, injustice gets comfortable, and comfort kills change. If you made it this far, thank you for standing with Malcolm and Renee. Stories like this remind us that justice only lives when we keep it alive. Click subscribe and join our community of voices that refuse to be silenced. Like this video. Share it with someone who still believes in doing what's right, and drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and what justice means to you. Your voice is powerful. Use it. Together, we can turn stories into movements and movements into change. Ms. Lark, tonight isn't about a headline. It's about what comes after. We'll hear from Mr. Malcolm Hayes, Ms. Aisha Daniels, and, by request, Mr. Aaron Crowley. This is a restorative forum. We will listen. We will be honest. Murmurs. Renee squeezes Malcolm's hand. Renee, softly, "You don't owe anyone grace, Dad." Malcolm, "I owe myself peace." Crowley steps to a floor mic. He looks smaller than before. No podium, no suit armor. Crowley, "Mr. Hayes, I can't undo what I did. I can say the system rewarded my ambition more than my ethics, and I said yes to that reward. I am sorry." Silence stretches. Malcolm, "Steady, you nearly took my name, but not my life's work. I won't carry you in my chest any longer. I release this weight. That's the forgiveness I can offer." Crowley, hoarse, "Thank you, even if I don't deserve it." Ms. Lark invites community questions. An elder rises. "Elder, apology is air, repair is brick. What are you building?" "Aisha," here's brick. "We're negotiating a civil settlement. Funds earmarked for the Hayes Fellowship, scholarships for Black students pursuing law and education, paid internships at public defender offices, and an annual Truth in Prosecution lecture series. We're also writing a model policy package for evidence handling and disclosure." Crowley's firm has agreed to seat it. Crowley nods yes. Renee to the room, "And we want something else. Story benches. Places in schools where students can record oral histories about bias and courage. Pain doesn't evaporate. It transforms when it's heard. Applause, long warm. Packed with teachers, parents, students holding "Welcome back, Mr. Hayes" signs. Board chair. "Mr. Hayes, the board unanimously votes to reinstate you with back pay and a permanent appointment as Director of Civic Literacy and Justice Studies." Malcolm smiles, breathes, "I accept," with a request. "Let's adopt a curriculum that teaches due process, documentary literacy, and how to file public records requests. Let kids practice democracy before it's on the ballot." Teacher, Ms. Ortega, "I'll pilot it with U.S. history. We'll call it Receipts Week." Student Jamal, "And we'll host monthly town halls. If school is for life, let life in." Renee, beaming, "Can we also add a unit called Cameras and Conscience? Not everything filmed is truth, but sometimes truth needs a lens." Board chair, "Approved." After the vote, hallway bustle. A shy sophomore approaches Malcolm. Sophomore, "Sir, I was going to drop out. Seeing you fight made me stay. Can I volunteer?" Malcolm, gentle, "We'll put you on the story bench team. Your voice build the bench." The Hayes Fellowship, Law and Learning for the Public Good. Aisha at podium. The first cohort is 10 fellows, 5 future teachers, 5 future lawyers. Full tuition, living stipends, and required community placements. Fellow number 1, Tammy. "My placement is a juvenile record sealing clinic. I want second chances to be policy, not charity." Devin, I'm building a classroom unit on how to read plea deals. Kids should understand consent under pressure. Malcolm, we don't want heroes. We want habits. Justice is made of repeated good choices. Renee, aside, to Aisha, think we can attach media literacy to evidence chains? Aisha, do it. Call it chain of custody, chain of truth. Richard Eldridge has requested a private meeting with Malcolm and Aisha. Renee attends at Malcolm's request. Eldridge tight, I came to confess my part. I let my ego star in a story that needed humility. I'll contribute $5 million to the fellowship endowment. No plaque with my name. Just results. Renee, measured, money can rot or root. It depends where you bury it. Aisha will root in access. Blind review admissions. Community advisory board. Annual public report. Eldridge, do it. And Mr. Hayes, if you don't accept my apology, I'll understand. Malcolm, I accept the commitment. Apology follows deeds. Eldridge nods, relief and shame braided on his face. Crowley, now suspended, teaches civic volunteers and first-gen pre-law students under supervision. Malcolm and Renee sit in the back. Crowley, to class, power tempts you to confuse winning with right. Your antidote is processed sunlight and someone willing to tell you no. A student asked, were you angry when you got caught? Crowley, I was angry when I got comfortable. Getting caught was mercy. Class ends. Crowley approaches Malcolm. Crowley, why did you come? Malcolm, to see if consequence planted a seed. Crowley, it did. Renee, soft, keep watering it. At the center, a wall of the almost, honoring those nearly lost to the system. Malcolm, addressing crowd, tonight isn't about me. It's about proximity. The closer we get to pain, the more precise we must become with truth. Parent, how do we raise kids who won't be afraid to be precise? Renee, let them practice saying, I don't know yet, then teach them how to know. A bell rings 12 times for 12 names read aloud. People lay small index card with promises. I will jury duty with attention. I will ask for body cam policies. I will mentor one student. Montage with dialogues woven in. Clinic room. Fellow Tammy. Your record will be sealed in 60 days. That job application? Try again. Client. Terry feels like oxygen. Classroom. Jamal. Teaching peers. This plea offers a math problem and a fear problem. Let's solve both. City Council hearing. Aisha. Chain of custody audits reduce wrongful convictions and lawsuits. Accountability is fiscally responsible. Porch at dusk. Malcolm. I used to think justice was a door you reached. It's a hinge you oil. Renee laughs, then let's be squeaky. Gate agent. Smiles, Mr. Hayes, Ms. Hayes. Seats together? And thank you for your work. Renee. Surprised. People are kindred in the comments. Malcolm. People are people. Comments are masks. On board, a little girl across the aisle recognizes Renee. Little girl. Are you the brave girl from TV? Renee. Laughing sometimes. Mostly I'm just loud for a good reason. They land. No incident. The ordinariness feels like a blessing. A quiet cemetery. A simple headstone. Late afternoon gold. Renee, kneeling, whispering, Mom, we did hard things. We kept your last name ringing like a bell, not a chain. Malcolm, hand on stone. I finally forgave myself for the years I taught history, but hid my own. Renee, smiles were writing it now. They leave a small pencil on the stone, symbol of teaching, testimony, and tools. Dedication of the Renee Hayes Institute for Civic Literacy is held inside the same Arts Center where the room is full of fellows, teachers, alum, families. Aisha, now Judge Daniels, courtrooms taught me procedure. Classrooms taught me purpose. This institute is the bridge. Malcolm said, legacy isn't who remembers us. It's who continues us. Renee stated, every year we ask our fellows the same question. What's the smallest honest thing you could do every day to keep people free? Then we fund the answers. Applause swells. A ribbon is cut. Kids run to the story benches. Red light clicks on. A new generation begins recording. Outside, evening breeze. The three sit on the steps. Quiet, content. Renee, think the work ever ends? Malcolm smiles, not if we're lucky. Aisha, grinning, not if we're good. If this story moved you, carry it forward. Share it with someone who needs courage tonight. Subscribe to join a community that turns stories into tools and tools into change. Tell us where you're watching from and the smallest honest thing you'll do this week to keep people free. Legacy isn't a statue, it's a habit.